Howard, talk a little bit about, if you've been studying Elon Musk, who is he and what is the role of all of this money in politics?
So I have actually a unique experience that most people probably don't. I worked for Elon. So you know how Twitter's now called X? Long ago in the 90s, late 90s, we remember the first development of PayPal was not PayPal, it was X.com. It was actually backed by a bank in Pittsburgh or somewhere in Pennsylvania, I worked for X.com. I worked literally 4 doors down from Elon Musk's office. He drove a $500,000 McLaren to work Menlo Park, California. He would stay, I mean, eccentric isn't a good enough word for this guy. He stayed in he had this office and a really nice desk and his laptop, but that's it. And he didn't have he would turn off his lights. He had the lamp on, and he would stay later than anybody. Like I was a CSR. We were doing consumer relations. I was doing customer service type online, and we were training a call center out in Iowa, and we were also doing escalation and elevation with the tech team. And so I would check out at night, and it could be like, because I was working 2 jobs at the time. I would work for I was a contractor at X, and I would check out, and he'd be in his office and like, and trying to be nice with I didn't know who he is. No one, he was nobody back then. He wasn't God back then. And you would go by his office like, good night, Mr. Musk, and he didn't acknowledge. He didn't do nothing. His eyes glued, really slow light computer, and he just tap away. We had a launch party at the Stanford, I think it was the Palo Alto or Stanford Hotel. He barely got involved, and I've worked for some tech companies, and he's like, but what I gleaned from then, I mean, it's a little story, it's a little bit of a sidestep till now, is that he always thought that he was going to rule the world. Wow. And he had that back then. He goes, I'm going to change banking. I'm going to change the way people pay. I want to make a cashless society. That was his thing. And he's always been fascinated with the letter X, because at the time, it was X.com was the name of the bank, and like no one associated. It was poor branding. It was failed miserably. Ended up merging it with PayPal, and you couldn't believe how many times the X.com would go, like it would go to porn sites, it would go to adult sites. It's such bad branding. But he failed. But he learns from his mistakes. If you look back in 2008, he actually supported Obama.
Oh yeah.
But it was his daughter? One of his children is estranged from him. The one that
changed her name.
Yeah. And gender affirming. That broke him completely. I still knew some people that talked to him every now and then again, and I think that was the turning point. That became, okay, this is not the world that I envision. I'm going to make it mine completely. I don't know what happened. I think, to me, that's where I see Elon Musk coming out and then using, he understands media. Oh. I mean, like we think Trump did. Trump does as far as your heritage media. But the new wave of media, that's where Elon, I mean, he was trying to get into Twitter remember, he was trying to get into that. He knew that if the digital media world and the everyone can isolate themselves in certain spaces, and that's why I was talking about earlier. Like, we never thought about going to the sports gaming ones, going to the video gaming areas. There's literally hundreds of million people in these realms that are completely isolated from everywhere else. And Elon Musk's influence, his understanding of technology, really helped Trump get in that avenue.
Put him over.
He knew it. He was doing stuff and he knows the law, so he knew how to skirt around this sweepstake to get voters. And look, and Leanne, you touched on the point. You vote to get mine. I'm gonna get mine kind of vote sometimes. But even though sometimes you vote against your own interest, but the ones that are a little bit
your wallet.
Right, you vote with your wallet. You're gonna say, I'm gonna get mine, and say, okay, I'll vote for this guy. I get a sweepstake check, or at least a possibility of it. So, but to me, Elon's money and influence was into his understanding of the whole digital world. That guy was in Silicon Valley. I worked for the guy. He's always been beyond eccentric. But once that fuse broke, and I think it's his estranged daughter did that, and I think was a son, and then now is a daughter.
Yeah.
That was like the straw that broke that camel's back.
His firstborn, wasn't it?
Did you read that there's an enormous biography of Musk, and guy lives a year and a half with Musk, and read about his childhood, because I'm Freudian enough to believe that everything that happens. And his father's name is Errol, like Errol Flynn. His mother was a beautiful model, is a beautiful model. But the old man, they grew up in Johannesburg, or in South Africa.
South Africa.
Yeah. And there were like these, call them gladiator academies. And the old man would put him and his brother in every summer. And it was like Lord of the Flies. They fought for themselves. And the old man wanted them to get tougher and tougher and tougher. So the dad, Errol, this is the payoff story on Errol, and so he's been married more than once. And so his final marriage, up until he may be divorced now, he marries a woman that has a child already. She's 12 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old. Well, they had all kinds of problems, and the family was totally apart. So Elon decides that he's going to do a summit, and this is in the book, and he's going to bring everybody together and patch it all up. So he rents out a very exclusive restaurant in Joburg, and everybody's going to come. His father's going to come. His father walks in the door. The adopted daughter is pregnant with his child. In other words, the woman that he married, he impregnated her 12-year-old daughter, and walks back into the reunion with this. At this time, she's probably 17, maybe 18, but she's pregnant with his child. The whole place goes up in smoke. They haven't touched each other since. But knowing that that's how and the old man talks about him. The old man says terrible stuff about him. It's like Carolyn Kennedy talking about her cousin. I mean, he said, "My son, you be careful with my son." But I also believe that every once in a while somebody comes along and they change the world. And, everything was okay with Newton until Einstein. And then that Newtonian, everything's so, and then Picasso shows up, and then Thomas Jefferson shows up, or, somebody.
And before that, Da Vinci.
Go down the list, but there are people that literally, and what you said about his beliefs about how he wants the world to look. There's another great anecdote story, and the book is lengthy, where NASA is offering tremendous amounts of money for anybody who can launch, turn around, come back down, bring it back down. And so there, the story, you're nodding your head. So they're in South Pacific, and he's firing rockets, and they're not working. So he's going to go, we're going one more time. And his board, oh no, you can't. His board starts griefing him, and he'll fire his board. I mean, he said, bring everything, we're going to Vandenberg in California.
Yeah.
Brings everything to Vandenberg. Everybody think, you're out of your mind, shoots, brings it down, okay, gets the contract. I mean, he has incredible luck. He's taken on Wall Street more than once. And so when this guy sides with Trump, and your definition is really a working one, when the Democrats are out knocking on doors and shaking hands, they're working the internet. And he's got guys that don't necessarily rival him, but they're that smart. And how many of those guys does he have? I don't know. He doesn't have to report.
It's almost like an IEC.
And he
Wow.
He's brilliant. I mean, you can't look at the guy and not think how smart he really is.